So how do you do unbindings and wardings while we're going through the Pluto retrograde? Because Pluto retrograde has a lot to do with contractual unbindings. Pluto direct is where we're binding contracts and exchanges, but Pluto retrograde offers us the opportunity to undo what we no longer need to be bound to. So first, let's look at Aquarius and Capricorn, because that's where Pluto is retrograding currently. It'll be retrograding in Aquarius until September 2nd, and then the retrograde moves back into Capricorn, and Pluto will be direct in Capricorn October 12th, which will be on the tail end of eclipse season then. The end of October is going to be really interesting. But moving on to unbindings. Aquarius has to do with being the rebel, doing things differently, being the artist, being the innovator. But you can't be that unless there's already a structure and a system set up, which is what Capricorn's about, is the structure, the system, the hierarchy. So this Pluto retrograde, we're looking at that artistry. What is it that we like and don't like about how we're moving in our artistry? What actually do we need to be a part of the system in so that we can have moments of innovation? And then in Capricorn, we're looking at the systems in our life and saying, maybe we need to rethink some things. Pluto work is very mental a lot of the time. So if you are sitting and thinking, Pluto asks that we have like space in our mind and in our thought for it, because Pluto is really the essence of power. Yes, also death and rebirth, but it has a lot to do with our will and our power. And we can make so many decisions about our life and how we want to weave with our power, how we want to work in it. It's a very individualized placement because it has to do literally with your decision. So if you're looking back at different spaces and places where you are an artist in the previous time, where you were a rebel, and you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about what contracts, what were you bound to when you were an artist? A very literal example would be that you were a painter with a gallery. And maybe you don't want to be with that gallery anymore. Maybe you want to go off and explore into different mediums and you want to go do other artwork. So you break the contract somehow with that gallery so that you're no longer under their hierarchy and their structure and their system so that you're able to then move on and move forward. But it's more than just art. It's also about the rebel being rebellious, the rebellious spirit. So if you're sitting and thinking, sit and really look at and break it down for yourself. Where was there artistry and rebellion in your life? What were you bound to while you were in that artistry and rebellion? Were you bound to other people? Were you bound to a mindset? Were you bound to tools? And what system and or structure and or hierarchy was that rebellion bound to also? Study those bindings. You gotta sit and you gotta look and you gotta learn. So sit, look, and learn. Study the bindings and figure out what doesn't actually work for you. What is costing you more power than it's worth? And then remove it. Don't allow yourself to return to it. Break the contract. You could literally just speak to yourself, I don't agree to this anymore and I'm done and I'm through. A declaration is a weaving. A declaration is a spell. And if you know yourself well and you speak the spell mentally, verbally, written, however, then it'll probably come through eventually. If that articulated power is something that you are in yourself. That's true. And then when Pluto goes direct, we'll be able to start the warding in again process of bringing in new contracts. So really while Pluto's retrograde, we're just focusing on the unbinding part of this. And then when Pluto goes direct, then we're learning from what we didn't do well from our previous situation. And we're warding in and binding again on the other side in a way that we more agree with now. So that is what to focus on. That's how I work with the Pluto unbindings and warding on a very generally specific level. So do what you need to do. Go and brew. I love you. Get your unbindings and warding how you need to. That's true.